Hi, welcome. I am so glad to talk with you guys today. I have so many cool things to talk with you about, and it's an exciting day and have good news. And also, just to list a few, I want to talk about this paradigm between us being together as in a church and just being with God. But we do need each other. We do need church. We do need to have a community. We also need to have discernment of knowing when certain situations come that we'll know what's really true, and that promise in the temple and the initiatory that tell us that, and how I had to exercise that this week, and then my house and how that's all going. And I'm just so grateful. So I think I will start off with the house because it was just so exciting. To tell you the story though, I think I had mentioned here before, we got an offer a couple weeks ago, but it was a pretty offensive offer. And it was too low, and that it didn't feel right. And it felt like they were trying to get as much as they could out of us. And they knew that we were having our backs against the wall. They had us right where they wanted us, and that we really had nowhere to go. So we did go back to them after 2 weeks of them giving us the offer, and they still were looking, I guess. And they said, yeah, we'll take it, but we're not budging on the same thing. And it was to give them 14 grand towards their closing costs out of our pocket, out of that whole loan, and also giving their buyer's agent a percentage more. And we had listed it at 2, she wanted 3. And I just felt offended by it. It just did not feel right, because right now the market is so bad in the sense that the rates are high. There's not enough inventory. Prices are so inflated that everyone needs to bear the burden of it. I feel like both the buyers, the agents, and the sellers. So we actually did lower down our house 10 grand. So from 460 to 450, but they wanted it to go down even lower to 440. And so, and all in all, we're getting down 20 grand from what we originally planned on and wanted. And yes, we had to play with the market that way, knowing, okay, we're going to get a little less. But to that point, and the way she was so sassy with my realtor, and he even had a bad feeling about her, it's just, she is just in it for the money. And it felt icky. Like, I did not like that situation of knowing there's someone in this situation trying to screw us over. And I did not like that. But we were getting to, we're less than a month out before our home is done and that we're moving in. So with knowing that, we were really stressed, and Brady and I were really stressing, but we're having consistent showings, and it's just so weird. We still would have a showing every other day. No one's putting in offers. And as last time I talked to you, I was still feeling stressed about it. And I'm just like, I was probably a little bit more willing to give it to God, because I just coming out to the temple and I just felt more peaceful. But I go back to sometimes my normal self of feeling nervous and not sure, and really it's kind of the Israelites. They're getting down to the nail. The Egyptians are on top of them, and they're praying to God, deliver us. And there were a lot of tears, or a lot of heartache between Brady and I, us trying to get along. There's contention just because we're both stressed. It's not in this whole game of like blaming the other, or just it's the situation we have to blame at, and we just be mad at that. So it was getting to that day on Tuesday this week that we were like, okay, we got to make a decision. We got to take this offer. So we went back to them, and my realtor did, and she would not budge. And it just, we were just ready to tell them, okay, we will do it. Let's write up another offer and do this. But that night, check this out. That night, we had someone call my realtor and say, hey, we really like the house, and we were really interested, and it seems like a perfect situation for us. And we don't want a townhouse in your house, but we don't want a single family home that's too big. But ours is a single family home, but it's kind of like townhouses. They're pretty close together, but they're still single family. And that's why I liked it, is I didn't have to share a wall. It gave me just a little bit of room. It's a perfect starter home. It's in a great location. They were really glad about the location. And this girl's aunt lives in our ward down the street. I don't think she's active, so I haven't really known her, but I know what house they're in, and I've had my kids trick or treat there, and they're great people so far from what I just have seen once. But anyway, and also the thing with it being is that it was going to be a cash offer. I guess their dad, they're a younger couple, but their dad or someone was going to pay for it. And it was going to be cash. And I've heard about that recently, that a lot of parents or grandparents are becoming the bank for this younger generation, because the market's crazy. It's so inflated and the markets are bad. So it's a lose-lose for these people. I am so grateful I've gotten it the time that we did. We're still having to swim upstream. It's still a battle, but I'm just so grateful we got in when we did 7 years ago, and not having to work with prices that are double than when we last looked ourselves. So, and that we're in the game. At least we can get this house up there for a little bit less, because we have some equity to bring up to it, which that's why we got a boogie. We have to sell this house to give the equity to them before they will say, sorry, you're too late, we're gonna have to put your house up on the market. But they're not that strickler on it. My husband teases me, I say strickler. Strict and stickler together. But they're going to be workable. And so we kept trying to communicate with them. We wanted to be respectful on their timing, but I finally did go to them and talk to them. I've been waiting till now to really tell you how much of a bind we're in, but we're not getting any great offers. We're going to go with, we may just have to go with this one. Of course, it's just on us. But that night, those people came to us on the phone and said, we want to come see it tomorrow. And we were so excited, and we had them see it, and they loved it, and it felt right for them. And they sent in an offer yesterday morning, so Thursday morning. So Tuesday, Wednesday, they saw it. Thursday, they sent an offer, and it was such a clean offer. Like they didn't want to ask for any more. It's already down 10 grand. They're fine with it. They're at 450. And I think the reason they finally saw it and didn't come to us months ago, when we almost listed it to almost 2 months ago, is it wasn't in their bracket. There are these search brackets, and 450 is one of those brackets. People say, nope, no higher than 450. And so that whoever is paying for them, I think, said, okay, 450 or lower, probably. But we've already, and then we lowered it to 10 grand, and then they are okay with the timing on when we need to move. They are in a situation where they don't need to, there's no contingencies. They were really great about adding a little bit of time in case we do need to have some wiggle room to move. And it's cash. We don't have to go through banks. And I was just so grateful. I was just so happy to see that this is a miracle. I prayed for this. I prayed to have something come, and God delivered, and I was so happy, and I am still so happy. I still can't believe it. I was floored. It's so dramatic, I guess, in the sense that we went so long. These people were the 28th showing, so we also weren't very excited to show it to them. Of course, when we heard the story, we're like, oh, cool, that'd be cool if you wanted it, but we don't believe anyone right now. Like, we just don't believe it. We've had so many people come, so many stories, that we just don't think anything will work. But we were hopeful. We had to keep going. And we just knew we're probably going to have to fall back on this offer. But the night we were going to do it, they came. And the next day, they saw it and loved it. And then the next day after that, it's done, deal. We signed it, they signed it, we're done. To a degree. They could still back out, of course, but they are so into it. And we're waiting on their deposit right now to hold it. And it's going to be probably just fine. It's just a good sign that even the aunt in the ward texted my husband and has his number from the ward directly, in ward directory, and asked her a little bit about our house and everything through the niece. So it's just it sounds like a really good situation. So I am so grateful, and I'm so grateful for any of you that prayed for us, because I know a lot of people did, and you were so kind and loving towards us. And we asked, and I put my name in the temple, even my own name, because it was that stressful for us. That in the case that we've been in this house for so long, it becomes a little bit of a part of you. It can't be your identity, but we hate to have it go down in this way. And to that other offer, it just did not feel right. I'd hate for it to end that way, that we'd worked hard and long enough to keep this home, pay the mortgage every month, work on that equity, and to have it go to some people that it just didn't feel right. And this one does. These seem like great people, and it was a clean offer, and they were willing to work with us, and it was a total God of the 11th hour situation, as I've said. And I I'm just so grateful God was patient with me and able to carry me through. Since I think we're gonna have some PTSD for a little while with how often we had to show, and that's just what our life was, is just showing, and it's hard to really come out of that and not be sure what to do. Like I don't know how to use my time as well right now, because I don't know. That's just what my job was. I just clean. I just keep the house clean, and it's not really good on your soul to be in that situation for a long time. But it was for so long. It was on the market for 50 days. And I really believe this was sent by God. So I want to share that with you. And, part of this situation, as we went through it, even before we got that offer, and we were really feeling so down about having to maybe take this other offer and how long it's taken, and just wasn't what we expected. And we live in a great area and it's a good neighborhood. So many showings. It just didn't make any sense. Maybe they're just powers beyond, like I've said before, that are holding things. There's this whole thing going on, probably Satan working against us and working on all the things that make people not get what they need as much as we need. I think even just the whole conspiracy, that I don't believe is conspiracy, that this is all greed of our country and the global elites that do want to have things higher in price, and that us normal people can't even afford it. That's what they're trying to go to, is control and not having people own as much so they can, and we just have to pay to them. And for even younger families to make this a thing, it all goes against the plan of salvation of having families be happy and together, and to have mothers at home so they can rear their children. I've thought about, do I need to go to work? Many people do, and I know women that if you're listening and you work, that's okay. For me, it's been the answer that I needed to stay at home. And I think, as I may make some people frustrated, I think more cases than not, it is better that we are to stay at home as mothers. You can still have something to give you that fulfillment, but I really do believe that we are to give more of our time to our family, and that the extra income over here or there is not the goal to have more stuff, but that's also part of it. It's just hard to also afford certain things. But we've had to go cheaper on so many things. I don't have a car. I don't have a watch. I don't do a car wash memberships. I don't go get drinks at Starbucks or soda shops. Like I don't do all the things, and people do. And I wish I could. I don't get those subscriptions. I don't have Netflix right now. We have Disney Plus. So there are things and ways that you can be cheaper, and you just have to live in a life with yourself that is more frugal, and it ends up paying off, ends up being a good thing. So you're not having to pay so much, and you could stay home and have those family memories, because that's what matters. So part of that with the beginnings of it, before we got this good offer, was I was praying with God, and we've had this analogy in our family that we can either be an egg or we could be a potato. And if you've ever heard of it before, it's when you put an egg in boiling water. So let's say boiling water are your trials. If you put an egg in boiling water, what happens to it inside? It was soft before, right? And then it becomes hard. And it's the same water, but you put a potato in there and it becomes soft. And I actually just made mashed potatoes yesterday. And I thought about it. I even took a picture. But I'm not going to add it here because I'm not doing editing. I'm not going to edit much. But it ends up being softer, and it's the same thing. So we are to choose whether we want to be an egg or a potato. Do we want to take these trials that come in our life and have it allow us, change us and make us better and soften us, humble ourselves to God? Or do we want to harden ourselves and just be more frustrated with the world, find excuses, find blame, even go inside and shame ourselves? I feel like in any situation we go to blame or we go to shame. If we don't use the gospel of Jesus Christ, we don't even need to use either of those. You can go to believing in Him, that you can do all things through Christ. And of course, evaluating yourself on how you can do better, but also knowing that He can comfort you when there's no control over it. So I'm very grateful for that. And I told God, I want to be softened. I want to be a potato. Even though I'm like, this is how I feel. I want to. And he blessed me, and I feel so grateful. So it's been cool. Anyway, so I want to tell you also about what I had gone through this week that was a little bit tricky in discernment. And I went through niche stories as well not too long ago, and there was that promise in there. And we're allowed to talk about these things in the temple. It's the certain tokens and signs and things that we aren't to talk about. So I feel like we do ourselves a disservice sometimes if we don't talk about anything in the temple. Thus, we're not building each other up or even creating it to be something we value. And what we value, we talk about. What we talk about, we value. So in that wording of that we will have our mind be clear and discern truth and error. So that was what I've always thought I'd like to have that. I want to keep doing that. You have to do it day to day as a mom, but even when it comes down to these really difficult things, that I wanted to know what was truth and error. And even in the small things. So a small thing was I am part of this group of girls of pickleball, and I didn't feel right about this article that some girl had put into the paper about our pickleball group, but everyone else was happy about it. And I thought, okay, what's wrong with me? I read some of it and I just got this bad feeling. And I told myself, okay, I think I'm living in the right enough way that when I get a bad feeling about something, then it might be correct. And as I read it, it was okay, and it was cute and sweet in some ways, but it was through the Salt Lake Tribune, and Salt Lake Tribune is very famous for being ex-Mormon or bashing a little bit on the church, just adding in those little snarky things in all their articles. So that was part of what I saw all right away, that comparing that our group is feminist, and I don't want to be a part of that. I'm not in that camp. And I don't believe that we are as the pickleball group. And then kind of talking about how we're blasting Fergie and Usher in the culture hall. So that's just, they're calculated like that with the Salt Lake Tribune and other people that are part of the ex-Mormon group, that they find those different ways to plug in and to really put in that doubt. And I've been able to see that over time, whereas before I didn't, when I was more younger and naive. And I don't do a ton of reading, but with what I do see and watch YouTube, all the things in these articles, I saw it and I didn't feel good about it. And so I felt like, what's wrong with me though? As it kept coming through on this text group, everyone was like, thank you so much for writing. I loved it. It's so great. And I do love the camaraderie in the group, and it's great. There hasn't been problems in our group, really. I've been part of it since the beginning of the year. It was just that I didn't appreciate what angle she took it. And that's what I was led to into figuring out who she was in our group. And I really don't know her very well, but she has an account where she is trying to, in her very subtle way, trying to expose more of the negativity and more of the pop culture of Mormon, and using the word Mormon more than we're counseled to do. There's just all these little signs that show that. And then her profile pic being a picture of the Book of Mormon Broadway musical of the guy jumping up in the air. So all these clues helped me see that. And I just knew, okay, I think I know what's happening here. And she may be someone that's great too. I can get to know her, and I really don't have anything against her. It's just the fact that this fruit of what I saw was probably not the best. Parts of it could be, but the main thing is we have to be more diligent on being picky on really what we take in and what we believe and what we're supporting, and also not taking everything for just what it is if the whole crowd is doing it. And so as we've been told, we live amongst the wheat and the tares. It's the wheat and tares all over. And I'm not to judge, but at some point there will be some among us that we didn't realize that we're part of the tares, that we're trying to go against Christ. We're trying to tear down the church in the small ways. And maybe they still have their learning curve, that they may come back and repent and do that and say, I did not choose the right on that way. I focus on the world, because being accepted right now and being progressive is very popular and really citing on those things. And I don't stand for it. I love my church and I believe in it, and I will stand for it. And I'm not going to allow there to be that wiggle room at all. That slight, that slight comment here or there of things that aren't right. That's not okay for me. And I don't think any of us, if we are covenant keeping people in this church, that we choose to be here, we choose to follow Christ, that we will stand for his church. He will someday come and it will be his church. And he will say, this is my church. And what we say matters. And it just felt really good to know an actual blessing came forward in that, from doing initiatories that week to then seeing all that happen within that small group I'm a part of, that I go and play pickleball with once or twice a week, that was coming forward. So I'm not one to put in the dicey gossip stuff. I hope I was trying to be clear on what kind of lesson I was trying to teach you there. So be aware of what you can be discerning and what truth you can find. Lastly, I wanted to talk about how my mind has changed more and more towards, and of course this whole message on here is Zion messages and trying to create a Zion community. That's part of what I need to work on as I prayed about it, is still having love and kindness towards her, but still seeing and knowing that I have to be knowing where I am and what I don't stand for. But for a while here, I've been kind of going to church just knowing it's you and me, God. It's not a social group. I don't go for the social because I don't feel like I have as close of relationships as I would have after 7 years of being here. And it hurts. So I've been reflecting more as we're coming to a close on this chapter. And I've been sad and thinking I would have thought it would have been different in leaving here. I still have some good people, trust me. And a few friends, I would like there to be more growth and more vulnerability between people, and I haven't been able to get close to people because they're not able to either. They're also they're dealing with things that are hard for them, but they choose not to receive help or share or be part of this. What Alma's talking about is having a covenant group of people that help each other through the mess. You don't have to air out your dirty laundry to everyone. You don't have to be so mushy-gushy, but that you actually feel like your family and that you're not just trying to check off a list, go to church and leave real fast, or go in your houses and not come out and talk as often. Like it's been hard. And but I feel both, and that's what's conflicting. I can feel also very grateful, and maybe we'll talk more about the positive of it all, but as far as just this concept, I have felt more down sometimes about the community I've been in that way. And I guess many of you probably feel the same way. 2020 was that way, and it kind of maybe changed things, but I do feel like it's kind of been that way even before, because I was here before that. It's just, it's not a cliquey place. It's just people are busy, and that's what's hard. It's like some people just don't always have the time, and that's hard when you're hoping to create friendships and they're not always reciprocated back. But God had changed my mind and helping me have being less cynical and knowing that we are to help each other. The cross, we are to be vertical with him, and I was focusing on that. And I felt like doing a decent job with that. And God was grateful that I was doing that, I felt like, and had blessed me and given me some inspiration and comfort. That yes, you focus on me. The sacrament is between you and me. But the vertical of the cross, we're not going to go to see God someday and have Christ amongst us just singly. We are to have each other and bearing each other's burdens, mourning with those that mourn. It was Alma creating the Waters of Mormon ward, and he was trying to help paint a picture of what that looks like. And I just know that's what we all need in our individual wards. Whoever's listening, is you need that for your ward, finding that way to get to know people get them vulnerable, be vulnerable yourself to a degree, and let each other be blessed by one another, having love, having Christ, being Christ's hands through those ways that we can be, because he wants us to love and just hold on tighter to each other rather than push away and just, as I was doing, nope, I'm good, I got God, and I do, and I will. And actually that's one reason why I've gone through, and these times have been hard and feeling alone. I don't feel lonely, but I feel alone sometimes, because I had God with me, and he can be with you too, but not being too polarized on one way or the other. So these scriptures are true. They're for our time. These chapters just come along in these seasons of my life right now in perfect ways. I need to hear this right now as I'm doing this reflection of being here in this area, and as we're going up there, and what I am to expect and bring to the table wherever we go next. And hopefully I don't make it, I'm not bitter, but I'm better. And I'm a potato, not a hard-boiled egg, and going up there, and it could be easy to be like, I'm on my own few acres, I can just do my thing. But that I creating a community, and that's what brought me and Brady closer together this past week as we were talking about it. And he goes, Laura, we've worked hard. We've worked hard here. We could have done better, but we did try. And wherever we go, we will try. And we have in the past. And it was a beautiful experience between the two of us to just think about the different places we've moved to. And we've moved to quite a few places before we've been here for a while now, but it doesn't matter where we go. And it felt good to know I'm on a team with him, and we will make a community and try our best where we go and be friendly and kind and be doing our best. And it's mainly Brady. Brady's really good at it, that he creates community wherever he goes. And he just had a bunch of kids over to play dodgeball at the park the other day. Things like that I'm just so grateful I have him on my team. So those are my true feelings. And I hope, if you're still listening, I hope it helped you. And I'm grateful for you listening. And I just have to close it in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Master. Amen.